Here's the challenge with AI-powered automation transforming employment at a speed that surprises even the experts who built this technology. The actual numbers from 2025 tell a story nobody wanted to believe 5 years ago, and what's projected for the coming years suggests we're at the beginning of a transformation that will redefine what it means to work.
The man who helped create modern artificial intelligence, Geoffrey Hinton, walked away from his position at Google to warn the world about what's coming. Bill Gates says humans could soon be unnecessary for most things. Elon Musk predicts work will become completely optional within 2 decades. These aren't statements from conspiracy theorists or pessimists. They're coming from the people building these systems, watching the capabilities develop in real time, understanding exactly where this trajectory leads. November 2025 at the U.S.-Saudi Investment Forum in Washington, D.C., Elon Musk sat on a panel and made a prediction that grabbed people's attention. Within the next 10 to 20 years, work will become optional, totally optional, like playing a sport or growing vegetables in your garden even though you can buy them at the store. Something you choose because you enjoy it, not because you need it to survive. Millions of robots in the workforce combined with advanced artificial intelligence will create a wave of enhanced productivity that makes human labor unnecessary for producing goods and services. What makes this prediction striking is where it comes from: the man running Tesla, SpaceX, and now the Department of Government Efficiency, actively deploying automation across federal agencies. Musk goes further, suggesting that in this automated future, money itself might cease to be relevant. He references I&M Bank's science fiction culture novels, where money doesn't exist in a post-scarcity society filled with super-intelligent AI beings. His guess is that if you extrapolate far enough out, assuming continued improvement in AI and robotics, which seems likely, money will stop being relevant at some point in the future. At Viva Technology 2024, Musk suggested a universal high income to support a world without necessary work, though he offered no details on how such a system would function. His reasoning echoes OpenAI's Sam Altman, who advocates for universal basic income, regular payments given unconditionally to individuals, typically by the government.
These ideas seem radical until you examine what's already happening. Through October 2025, 76,440 workers lost their jobs directly because of artificial intelligence. Just in the first 6 months of 2025, 77,999 tech jobs were eliminated with AI explicitly cited as the reason. The tech sector as a whole saw 89,251 job cuts in the first 7 months of 2025, a 36% jump over the same period in 2024. These numbers come with names and dates attached. These aren't theoretical projections. New graduate hiring at major tech companies dropped 25% in 2024 compared to 2023, according to Signalfire Research. January 2025 marked the lowest level of job postings in professional services since 2013, down 20% year over year. The jobs disappearing cluster among young workers and entry-level positions. Unemployment among 20 to 30-year-olds in tech-exposed occupations rose by almost 3 percentage points since early 2025, which is notably higher than for their same age peers in other professions and for tech workers more broadly. 40% of white-collar job seekers in 2024 failed to land interviews. High-paying positions over $96,000 hit decade-low hiring levels, and job openings for college graduates in 2024 fell 20% from 2022. The job market appears normal on the surface for experienced workers, but underneath it has frozen for the young. Geoffrey Hinton, a British computer scientist who won the Nobel Prize for his work in machine learning, sees what's happening and alarm bells are going off. In 2023, he left Google so he could speak freely about AI risks without his words reflecting poorly on his employer. At 77 years old, Hinton, often called the godfather of AI, understands these systems better than almost anyone on Earth, and watching these patterns unfold frightens him. December 2025 at Georgetown University, Hinton sat down for a discussion with Senator Bernie Sanders and laid out his concerns in detail. It seems very likely to a large number of people that we will get massive unemployment caused by AI. His explanation cut through the technical jargon to the economic reality underneath. If you ask where these guys are going to get the roughly $1 trillion they're investing in data centers and chips, one of the main sources of money is going to be by selling people AI that does the work of workers much cheaper, which means these companies are betting on AI replacing lots of workers because that's where the big money is. Hinton acknowledged the limits of his predictions, telling the audience that trying to predict the future is going to be very difficult. It's a bit like when you drive in fog. You can see clearly for 100 yards, and at 200 yards you can see nothing, and we can see clearly for a year or two, but 10 years out we have no idea what's going to happen. He recognized that AI will create new jobs, but he doesn't anticipate the number of new roles coming close to the number eliminated.
September 2025, speaking to the Financial Times, Hinton put the problem in stark political terms. What's actually going to happen is rich people are going to use AI to replace workers. It's going to create massive unemployment and a huge rise in profits. It will make a few people much richer and most people poorer. And that's not AI's fault. That is the capitalist system. He rejected Sam Altman's idea of universal basic income, stating it won't deal with human dignity and the value people derive from having jobs. Hinton's timeline has accelerated. In 2023, he thought artificial general intelligence would arrive in 20 to 50 years, but currently he thinks it could be 20 years or less. He claims the latest models like GPT-5 know thousands of times more than us already. He estimates a 10 to 20% chance that AI will annihilate humanity after the development of superintelligence, though he spends more time discussing the economic disruption that's already beginning. On Bloomberg TV in November 2025, Hinton stated his belief plainly. To make money, you're going to have to replace human labor, and the big companies are betting on it causing massive job replacement by AI, because that's where the big money is going to be. When you have roughly $1 trillion being invested by Microsoft, Meta, Alphabet, and Amazon into data centers and chips, with spending projected to increase from $360 billion this year to $420 billion next fiscal year, the investors need returns that justify those expenditures, and those returns come from eliminating labor costs. Senator Mark Warner, a Democrat from Virginia, warned that the disruption could hit young people first and hardest, predicting potentially 25% unemployment among recent college graduates within the next 2 to 3 years. His warning came with a comparison to social media. Let's look at the fact we never did anything on social media, and if we make that same response on AI and don't put guardrails, I think we will come to rue that day. The data already shows which jobs are vanishing. Customer service lost 420,000 agent positions between 2022 and 2025. Content moderation dropped 58% between 2022 and 2025. Medical transcription saw 48% of roles displaced in hospital networks over the last year. Accounting eliminated 37% of accounting roles in small businesses, and logistics saw warehouse packing jobs decline 33%. Entry-level positions are getting destroyed. Roughly 50 million American entry-level jobs are affected. Junior marketing positions have dropped 31% since 2022, and job postings containing AI-related tasks increased 64% in 2025 over the last 18 months, which means companies aren't just cutting jobs, but explicitly requiring AI skills in the positions that remain. Workers aged 18 to 24 are 129% more likely than those over 65 to worry that AI will make their job obsolete, and 49% of Gen Z job seekers believe AI has reduced the value of their college education. The gender dimension adds another layer. 58.87 million women in the American workforce hold positions highly exposed to AI automation, while 48.62 million men hold similar positions, which is 21% more women than men in the American workforce exposed to AI automation. In high-income countries, 9.6% of female employment is vulnerable to task-based AI automation, almost 3 times the proportion for male jobs at 3.2%. Manufacturing has already eliminated 270,000 jobs due to robotics and AI between 2022 and 2025, and since 2000, automation has led to the loss of 1.7 million manufacturing jobs. MIT predicts AI will replace 2 million manufacturing workers by 2025.
Retail faces 65% of retail jobs confronting automation by 2025, and retail cashiers face a 38% job reduction in stores with AI self-checkout. Customer service representatives face an 80% automation rate by 2025. Data entry workers are looking at 7.5 million jobs eliminated by 2027, and transport workers see 1.5 million trunking jobs at risk by 2030. The Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis released data in August 2025 showing that occupations with higher theoretical exposure to AI have experienced larger increases in unemployment since 2022, with the correlation between intensive generative AI adoption and unemployment gains standing at 0.57. Computer and mathematical occupations, which adopted AI most intensively, have experienced substantial increases in unemployment. This creates a paradox. The people with the most technical skills, the ones who understand technology best and work in the industries creating AI, are seeing unemployment rise faster than other groups. These are the workers who might expect AI to augment rather than replace their roles, yet they're being displaced at accelerated rates. The technology sector, which added millions of jobs over the last 2 decades, is contracting for those entering the field. Amazon announced 14,000 layoffs in December 2025, largely in middle management, and CEO Andy Jassy said the decision resulted from culture, not AI. But a June memo predicted a smaller corporate workforce as we get efficiency gains from using AI extensively across the company. The stated reason and the actual mechanism don't align, which is becoming a pattern where companies don't want to say AI is eliminating jobs even as they implement AI systems that eliminate jobs. McKinsey Global Institute released projections that frame the scale of what's coming. Up to 30% of current work hours in the United States could be automated by 2030 in their midpoint adoption scenario, and without generative AI, the estimate was 21.5% of hours, but with generative AI, it's 29.5%. 60% of jobs could see significant changes at the task level. AI-powered agents and robots could generate approximately $2.9 trillion in U.S. economic value annually by 2030, assuming 27% of current work hours are automated by 2030. Approximately 12 million Americans will need to change occupations by 2030. In Europe, up to 12 million occupational transitions will be necessary by 2030, and in China, up to 100 million workers might need to change professions. 50% of current work activities could be automated between 2030 and 2060, with a midpoint in 2045, approximately a decade earlier than previously estimated. The roles with the highest automation potential represent about 40% of total jobs, concentrated in legal and administrative services, drivers, and machine operators. Workers in the 2 lowest salary quintiles are 10 to 14 times more likely to need to change professions by the end of this decade than the highest earners. Jobs paying less than $30,800 per year and those paying $30,800 to $38,200 face the highest risk. McKinsey projects technology skills demand will increase 25% in Europe and 29% in the United States in work hours by 2030. Social and emotional skills will increase 11% in Europe and 14% in the United States, while basic cognitive skills are expected to decline 14%. Manufacturing could see up to 30% of jobs automatable by the mid-2030s. Banking and finance project 70% of basic operations automated by 2025, with approximately 200,000 jobs expected to be eliminated in Wall Street banks within 3 to 5 years, and 54% of banking jobs have high AI automation potential. The World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs Report 2025 found that 41% of employers worldwide plan to reduce their workforce over the next 5 years due to AI automation. 85 million jobs could be displaced by 2025, and 97 million new roles could emerge by 2025, though some sources cite 133 million. The net gain ranges from 12 million positions to 48 million, depending on the source. Professional agriculture is expected to increase 30% by 2028, equal to 30 million jobs, but agricultural work requires different skills and locations than office jobs. Sam Altman, OpenAI's CEO, said he can easily imagine a world where 30 to 40% of the tasks that happen in the economy today get done by AI in the not very distant future. He predicts superintelligence by 2030 and supports universal basic income. Dario Amodei, Anthropic's CEO, believes AI will surpass humans in almost everything by 2027 and predicts AI could eliminate half of all entry-level white-collar jobs within 5 years. Jensen Huang, NVIDIA's CEO, predicts every job will be transformed, potentially leading to a 4-day workweek. His note is more optimistic, suggesting AI won't lead to mass layoffs but will change the nature of jobs. The question is whether transformation means augmentation or replacement, and the data from 2025 suggests replacement is winning.
Bloomberg research found AI could replace 53% of equity research analyst tasks and 67% of sales representative tasks, while managerial roles face only 9 to 21% automation risk. IBM's Ask HR handles 11.5 million interactions annually with minimal human oversight, which means the technology already works at scale in specific applications. New AI-related jobs are growing, but the requirements create barriers. Q1 2025 saw 35,445 AI-related positions exist, representing a 25.2% increase over Q1 2024. AI and machine learning engineer roles are experiencing 13.1% quarterly growth and 41.8% annual growth, and data scientist roles increased 4.2% quarter over quarter and 10% year over year. The median annual salary for AI roles in Q1 2025 stood at $156,998, and approximately 350,000 new roles are projected, including prompt engineers, AI ethics officers, and human-AI collaboration specialists. Jobs referencing AI in descriptions have increased 400% over the last 2 years. Workers with AI skills earn 25% higher salaries on average than those without, and demand for AI proficiency has increased 7-fold in 2 years. 91% of companies using or planning to use AI in 2024 will hire new employees in 2025. 96% say possessing AI skills will be beneficial, and 83% say demonstrating AI skills will help current employees have more job security. But here's the catch. 77% of new AI jobs require master's degrees, 18% require doctorate degrees. Only 11% of AI job postings offer fully remote work, 15% allow hybrid, and 74% require on-site presence. The new jobs being created require credentials and flexibility that displaced workers often don't have. A 45-year-old customer service representative with a high school diploma can't easily transition to an AI ethics officer role, requiring a master's degree and on-site work in San Francisco. Approximately 60% of American workers today hold occupations that didn't exist in 1940, which implies more than 85% of employment growth since then came from technology-related job creation. Each generation before ours feared massive technological changes, and automation has created more jobs, not fewer, historically. But the rate of change for AI seems to be moving faster than it did in the past, though not remarkably so, according to some economists. LinkedIn's managing director for EMEA, Sue Duck, said LinkedIn data doesn't show an AI apocalypse, that job demand is increasing, not collapsing, and that's not what we're seeing. The Yale Budget Lab report from October 2025 found that since ChatGPT's public release in November 2022, the broader labor market has not experienced a discernible disruption due to AI automation, and AI adoption in the workplace is still not as rapid as anticipated.
Ioana Marinescu, an economist, agrees with Musk's vision of total automation as the future of work, but is skeptical about his timeline due to robotics limitations. AI adoption in the workplace isn't as fast as anticipated, despite recent tech layoffs. Samuel Solomon, a labor economics professor at Temple University, said the political structure supporting the transformed workforce will be as important as the technological one, and finding the political will to make universal basic income work is a different problem. Manny Athwal, founder of the School of Coding, disagrees with Musk's bleak outlook, believing AI will create many new job opportunities and drive significant innovation that could lead to the creation of new industries and job roles. Anton Kornick, a professor and faculty director, stated that if the economic value of labor declines so that labor is just not very useful anymore, we'll have to rethink how our society is structured. The disagreement among experts centers on timing and magnitude, not direction. Everyone agrees AI will transform work, but the debate is whether this happens over 5 years or 50, whether it displaces 30% of workers or 70, and whether new jobs appear fast enough to absorb displaced workers. Geoffrey Hinton's fog metaphor captures the uncertainty perfectly. We can see clearly for a year or two, but 10 years out, we have no idea what's going to happen. What we do know is that 2024 and 2025 have shown accelerating displacement concentrated in specific sectors and age groups. Customer service, data entry, content moderation, and entry-level office work are disappearing at measurable rates. Young workers are experiencing unemployment increases that don't match broader economic patterns, and companies are investing hundreds of billions of dollars into AI infrastructure, with explicit plans to reduce labor costs. The investment numbers tell the story. Microsoft, Meta, Alphabet, and Amazon are expected to increase capital spending to $420 billion next fiscal year from $360 billion this year, and the entire industry has invested approximately $1 trillion in data centers and chips. According to Hinton, the primary source of money will be selling people AI that does workers' jobs much cheaper, which means the business model requires labor displacement to generate returns that justify the investment. Regional variations show uneven adoption. North America is expected to lead automation adoption at 70% by 2025. In the United States, 38% of job postings in urban areas now include AI-related responsibilities, while rural areas see only 14%. Southeast Asia has seen a 52% increase in AI-driven job displacement in logistics and warehousing since 2023. Germany has automated 27% of its public sector administrative roles, while Italy has only 13% due to slower adoption, and India has seen 31% of business process outsourcing roles modified or eliminated due to AI implementation over the last 18 months. The jobs least threatened include healthcare, with nurse practitioners projected to grow 52% from 2023 to 2033. STEM roles have seen employment share rise from 6.5% in 2010 to nearly 10% in 2024, an increase of almost 50%. Skilled trades, including installation, repair, and maintenance, face low AI risk. Construction and skilled trades rank among the least threatened. Personal services, including food service, medical assistants, and cleaners, are less likely to be replaced, and food preparation and service jobs are expected to add over 500,000 positions by 2033. Professional agriculture is expected to increase 30% by 2028. The pattern emerging shows AI displacing cognitive routine work, while physical skilled work and personal service work remain relatively protected. A software engineer writing routine code faces higher risk than a plumber fixing a leak or a nurse providing bedside care, which inverts traditional assumptions about which jobs technology would threaten first. Hinton's comments about human dignity point to a dimension beyond economics. Universal basic income won't deal with human dignity and the value people derive from having jobs. Work provides structure, purpose, social connection, and identity beyond the paycheck. A society where 30 or 40% of adults don't have jobs, even if their material needs are met through government payments, faces psychological and social challenges that economic models don't capture. Musk's vision of work becoming like playing sports or growing garden vegetables assumes people will find meaning and purpose in optional activities, and maybe they will. But the transition from a work-based society to a leisure-based society, if it happens over 10 years rather than 50, will create disruption that goes beyond unemployment statistics. Communities built around industries, identities built around professions, and social structures built around workplace interactions will need to be rebuilt. The current situation shows clear trends. Entry-level jobs are disappearing, young workers face unemployment increases that don't match broader patterns, and companies are investing massive capital into AI with explicit plans to reduce labor costs. The jobs being eliminated pay below median wages and require less than a bachelor's degree, while the new AI jobs being created require advanced degrees and pay well above median wages.
This creates a divergence where displaced workers can't easily transition to replacement jobs. Geoffrey Hinton stated that we don't know what is going to happen, we have no idea, and people who tell you what is going to happen are just being silly. We are at a point in history where something amazing is happening, and it may be amazingly good and it may be amazingly bad. This uncertainty is the dominant feature of the moment, where the technology is developing faster than institutions can adapt, faster than workers can retrain, and faster than governments can implement policy responses.
Apollo Global Management's Torsten Slok noted that spending by well-off Americans, driven by their surging stock portfolios, is the single most significant driver of growth. Earnings expectations are being revised upward for the Magnificent Seven due to the AI boom, while expectations for the rest of the S&P 493 are being revised downward. The economic gains from AI are concentrating in a small number of companies and their shareholders, while the job losses spread broadly across millions of workers. The historical pattern shows new technology creates more jobs than it destroys, but that pattern played out over decades with gradual transitions. The question for AI is whether the transition happens fast enough that displaced workers can't adapt, or slow enough that labor markets can adjust, and the data from 2024 and 2025 suggests the transition is happening faster than many economists predicted. Hinton's description of driving in fog captures the situation precisely. We can see the immediate effects clearly. 76,440 workers lost jobs to AI in 2025 through October. Customer service lost 420,000 positions, content moderation dropped 58%, and medical transcription declined 48%. These numbers are clear and verifiable. What we can't see is whether these are the leading edge of a wave that will crest at 12 million displaced American workers by 2030, or whether these are isolated disruptions in specific sectors that won't spread broadly. Elon Musk's prediction that work will become optional within 10 to 20 years represents one end of the spectrum, with his timeline putting full automation between 2035 and 2045. Dario Amadei's prediction that AI will surpass humans in almost everything by 2027 and could eliminate half of all entry-level white-collar jobs within 5 years represents the other end, with that timeline putting major disruption between 2027 and 2030. The difference between these timelines is the difference between a gradual transition and an economic shock. McKinsey's projection that 12 million Americans will need to change occupations by 2030 falls in the middle, which is approximately 8% of the current workforce needing to switch professions within 5 years. The workers in the two lowest salary quintiles are 10 to 14 times more likely to need those transitions than high earners, which concentrates the disruption among people with the least resources to manage career changes, the least education to qualify for new roles, and the least financial cushion to weather unemployment. The skills that will be in demand tell us what survives. Technology skills will see a 29% increase in work hours by 2030 in the United States. Social and emotional skills will increase 14%, while basic cognitive skills are expected to decline 14%. This suggests AI is replacing routine cognitive work, while human interaction and advanced technical work remains valuable. The accountant following standard procedures faces displacement, while the therapist managing emotional crises remains employed, and the AI engineer designing systems remains employed. The 75% of American employers who now prioritize continuous learning and reskilling recognize that static skills become obsolete quickly. Agata Nowakowska from Skillsoft stated that as AI continues to evolve, upskilling becomes increasingly important. But reskilling takes time and money that unemployed workers often lack, and a 40-year-old data entry worker who loses their job can't easily spend 2 years earning a master's degree to qualify for AI ethics positions. The debate over universal basic income reflects uncertainty about solutions. Altman supports it, Hinton rejects it as inadequate for human dignity, and Musk suggests universal high income without details. The economic challenge is funding these programs when AI is specifically being deployed to reduce labor costs and concentrate profits in fewer hands. If AI eliminates 30% of jobs and increases corporate profits dramatically, taxing those profits to fund income supports becomes politically contentious in ways that could prevent implementation. Senator Mark Warner's comparison to social media regulation warns that waiting too long to implement guardrails could create irreversible harm. We never did anything on social media, and the consequences include mental health crises among teenagers, election interference, and erosion of shared truth. If we make that same response on AI and don't put guardrails, the consequences could include massive unemployment, increased inequality, and social instability that governments struggle to manage. The current moment sits at an inflection point. The technology exists to automate large portions of white-collar work. Companies have the capital and incentive to implement that automation, and workers are beginning to experience displacement at measurable rates. What happens next depends on choices about implementation speed, policy responses, and social priorities that haven't been decided yet. Geoffrey Hinton's warning that rich people will use AI to replace workers and create massive unemployment while generating huge profits describes the default trajectory if current patterns continue. The massive capital investments into AI infrastructure, the explicit business plans to reduce labor costs, and the early displacement data all support that trajectory. Whether that's the actual future depends on decisions that companies, governments, and societies make over the next few years. Elon Musk's vision of optional work in a post-scarcity society assumes technology solves the abundance problem so completely that material needs become trivial. That vision might arrive in 2045 or 2055, but the transition period between now and then could involve decades of economic disruption, unemployment, and inequality that create suffering even if the endpoint is positive. The fog metaphor applies here too, where we can see the disruption starting, but we can't see whether it leads to a better world or a worse one.
What we know with certainty is that 2025 has shown measurable acceleration in AI-driven job displacement, concentrated among young workers and entry-level positions. The experts building these systems predict much larger disruptions coming within the next 3 to 8 years. The capital investments being made assume massive labor cost reductions that justify trillion-dollar expenditures, and the historical pattern of technology creating more jobs than it destroys might hold. But the speed of this transition could outpace labor market adaptation in ways that create a decade or more of painful adjustment. The story of AI and employment in 2025 is a story of early warning signs. The numbers are still small relative to the total workforce, but growing rapidly. The projections from multiple sources converge on major disruptions by 2030, and the people building these systems are sounding alarms about consequences they see coming. Whether those warnings lead to preparation and mitigation, or whether societies wait until the disruption is overwhelming before responding, will determine whether this transformation becomes a managed transition or an economic crisis.